Listen to part of a discussion in a psychology class.
This semester, we have been discussing animal cognition studies. And last week, what did we talk about? Robert?
We talked about some animal species that passed the MSR test, the mirror self-recognition test. Those that passed the test are large animals, like gorillas, chimpanzees, orangutans, elephants, dolphins, and orcas.
So tell me, Robert, how would you categorize those animals?
Well, I say they are all mammals.
So do you agree that mammals are the only animal species that can pass the MSR test?
I have no idea.
Professor Stein, I recently read a scientific journal that said magpies are highly intelligent birds, and they're able to pass the mirror test.
Great point, Linda. Magpies sure are known to recognize people's faces. Studies have shown that they certainly recognize themselves in the mirror. So yes, this bird species did pass the mirror test. However, today, I want to draw your attention to something totally different. What we want to discuss in today's class is fish intelligence.
Fish? You mean like salmon and mackerel?
Yes and no. Yes, fish species. And no, not those types of fish. All right, so today I want to talk about Labroides dimidiatus, aka the blue streak cleaner wrasse. This fish, as its name implies, is known for cleaning other fish. They eat exoparasites on the bodies of other fish, which means that they have good eyes for parasites. Anyway, a Japanese researcher, in collaboration with the Max Planck Society, proved that this fish has the ability to pass the MSR test. Surprising, isn't it?
It is surprising to me. How did they prove that they actually passed the test?
I was just about to do that. Okay, so, Linda, let me ask you, how is a typical mirror test conducted? Quick, tell me.
Well, normally, it is done by sticking a mark on a part of an animal's body, and the animal cannot see that part of the body without the help of a mirror. The animal is anesthetized before the mark is attached because you want to make sure that it doesn't know what has been done to it. After the animal regains consciousness, it is exposed to a mirror so it can see itself.
Precisely. So if the animal does have the ability of visual self-recognition, what kind of behavior does it typically show?
Well, it tries to touch the mark to check to see what it is.
Yes, remember, the mark is attached to an area of the body that can be viewed only in a mirror reflection, on the human body. It would be the submental space, the area under the chin, the throat region.
So, are you saying the Japanese researcher did the same thing to cleaner wrasses? Put a mark on the throat region of the fish and see what reactions they showed?
Right. They did 4 types of experiments. Here's what they did. In experiment number 1, they showed this fish a mirror. First, the fish displayed attacking behavior. However, as time passed, it gradually became less aggressive toward the mirror reflection. It then started to swim in an unusual fashion, as if to see if the other fish in the mirror would do the same thing, and of course it did. 8 healthy subjects underwent this experiment, and all of them displayed the same reaction. At this point, however, there's no telling if the fish possessed the ability of visual self-recognition. Experiment number 2. This time they put a transparent mark on the throat region of the fish. Keep in mind that this mark is absolutely harmless and totally unperceivable. What do you think happened? Linda?
It tried to remove the mark, didn't it?
Sorry, that was a bit of a tricky question. In this experiment, experiment number 2, the fish was not given access to a mirror.
I see. So it couldn't see itself in a mirror. So what did it do? I guess it did nothing.
You're right. It didn't do anything peculiar. Natural, isn't it? Because it never knew there was a mark on its throat. Also this time, they used 8 different individual fish, and the results were the same. Okay, experiment number 3. This time, they put a brown visible mark on the throat region of the fish, but no access to a mirror. Robert, what do you think happened?
Let me see. Since there was no mirror, the fish couldn't have known there was a mark on its body. So, the same as the result from experiment number 2. I say it did nothing.
Correct. Again, And this experiment was done 8 times using 8 different individual fish. The same results. So, the fourth and final experiment. In this last experiment, what did they do? Well, they put a brown mark on the throat region of the fish and gave the fish access to a mirror. What did the researchers observe? Predictably, the fish behaved differently. This time, they looked at themselves and realized something was wrong with them. Then they swam down and scraped their bodies, specifically the throat region, against the pebbles on the bottom of the water tank over and over. Then they swam up to look in the mirror. What do you think this indicated?
Well, the fish noticed the mark. Therefore, they attempted to get rid of it.
Yes and yes. 7 out of 8 subjects showed this scraping behavior. From this, you could say that cleaner wrasses are in fact able to recognize themselves. The Japanese researcher and his team believed that the fish regarded the marks as parasites, which therefore caused them to try to remove them. This behavior couldn't have been triggered if it hadn't been for the ability to distinguish self and non-self. It is very likely that this fish species has self-recognition capabilities.
Professor, I got a question. Did they do another experiment? I mean, what would happen if the fish had a visible mark on a part of the body that they can see without a mirror?
Great question. You have all the makings of a scientist. Of course, they did the test you just mentioned, in addition to the 4 tests that they originally came up with. The result was they tried to scrape off the mark. No surprise there, right? We used to think that fish were among the least intelligent animals by vertebrate standards. However, the more we find out about animals, the more obscure the border between humans and animals becomes. In this day and age, artificial intelligence is gaining considerable attention across society, but those of you who haven't decided on your major yet, I want to say to you that there is so much more to explore about animal intelligence